Welcome, everybody. It's lunch hour some places or still early morning in others. So we thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about the Optelec ClearView C Full HD High Definition with Speech. It's a unique desktop video magnifier. And with me today, I have the fantastic, marvelous, wonderful Michelle Williams. Next slide, please, Carl.
Oh, thank you.
And Michelle, you are the North Central U.S. Sales Director. It's always fun because Michelle doesn't get to see what these little Bitmoji things are before the event. It's always like the surprise what I have her doing in them. So, Michelle, for those of them out there that don't know who you are, introduce yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. You're such a gentleman. I came from the enhanced vision side of the family with Vispero, and Vispero being a wonderful company that has Optelec, Enhanced Vision, Freedom Scientific, and so forth. And my background is in hardware, which is CCTVs, portables, and things. And I do have to preface this presentation with, this was always one of the products that I was so jealous of because it is beautiful and functional. So thank you for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, no, Michelle, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this with me. It's always fun. And I have to second that comment because I come from the Freedom Scientific side. And, you know, the interesting thing is when I would be out and about and see this unit, I was always very envious of it. I thought it was a great, sleek unit. I loved that scanning and reading capability. So I was with you there. And of course, I'm a strategic accounts manager for education for the US and work closely with all of our regional directors. And also, I want to give a shout out today to all of the dealers and resellers that took the time to join us. We appreciate all that you do. And for those of you that are not familiar with them, we've got a great network of dealers and resellers throughout the country. Otherwise, if without them, Michelle would probably never be in one place ever. Should be flying all over. And also a shout out to our customer service team. We have some customer service members on the call today, joining in to learn a little bit more about the ClearView C. And so for those of you that call in to our office, you know, that's our lifeline, those customer service reps. They do a great job and, you know, they're there to help you. And so be nice when you call in. And if you have questions, comments, give them a shout. Next slide, please, Carl. So today we're going to discuss the overview of the ClearView C with speech, some of the features and functionality. We're going to do a live demonstration of the unit. We're also going to be doing a raffle. Got kind of a cool product today, raffling off. Michelle will tell you more about that. And then we'll follow up at the very end with some Q&A. Next slide, please.
Absolutely. And Mike, I have to mention the Bitmojis that we have on here, or our avatars. They're always doing something funny. Last time I was shot out of a cannon, but today we have an awesome one with who I call Michael Trebek with Jeopardy here. So that's pretty cool.
Please, put your questions in as answers, right? Or whatever it is, form them that way. So we will do the Q&A at the end of the presentation. Press Alt and H to open your chat window within Zoom. Type your question or comment in, hit enter, and we will get to those all at the end. Also, if after the fact there's something that you didn't ask or you remember, feel free to email us at training, training @vispero.com. Also email us there if there's any products that you want to see us do a more in-depth presentation of, like we are here today.
And I'd like to share what we're going to be raffling today, which we are going to raffle this at the end of the session. So please make sure that you stay. We will be announcing a lucky winner of the ErgoLux iMobile. It's a lightweight handheld magnifier. And the difference with this one, besides having 2 light settings and having this beautiful handle to it, is that you can charge it on its charging pad. Just like you do with a cell phone, it has an inductive charger, which we have a picture in the center, which the laptop is not included. I have to preface it with that as a joke, but we put that in there so that you could see the size of it, give kind of a comparison as to how large the charger is. And you get the charger with the USB cord and of course a block plug at the end. So if you're just wanting to plug it into the wall, you can, but it's really a wonderful magnifier that's valued at about 200. And we will be announcing that towards the end of the session. So next slide, please. All right. This, like I said before, is one of the sleekest, most contemporary designed CCTVs that is out there on the market today with full wonderful functionality. And today's unit that we're going to be talking about is the one with speech. And I do want to give a shout out to any VA staff that's out there. First of all, thank you, because it is something that is approved by the VA. So if you get a hold of your prosthetics department, they can give you the part number, the pricing, and so forth. And like Michael just said, if you get a hold of us, we can tell you who your wonderful local rep is that can either bring a unit in for you to look at and work with, or tell you about its features and train the staff on what Michael is going to show today, which is a really functional OCR touchscreen CCTV. So with that, Michael, if you want to take that away.
Sure thing, yeah. So using the ClearView C speech, so oftentimes we have people, wanting to do things like reading your newspaper or a magazine, reading your mail, other small documents, maybe you're writing out checks, writing out holiday cards, looking at photos of friends, family. You can read long text without getting tired thanks to that speech capability that Michelle mentioned. So you've got the optical character recognition, the OCR, built into this unit. You'll get to see that live and in person in a little bit. And then you can look at larger objects. So I've got like a can of soup here to show you kind of how you're using it with that. So if larger objects like boxes, or if you're doing things like knitting, different hobbies, you've got plenty of room underneath in between the XY table and the camera itself, the camera housing. And then also for writing and such, you've got room to put the pen there. And Michelle, you mentioned earlier something about you were messing around with this being a lefty, right?
Yes, I can attest to being a left-hander that puts her elbow out and turns her hand sideways. We're the kids that used to get the ink on the back of our hand when we were writing in those tiny desks at school. But there's plenty of room for a left-hander underneath this. Also, a newspaper and larger materials, it is beautiful because like Mike just mentioned, that C arm that's right there, it is so far off to the left and so thin in its structure that it really does not get in the way. So I can attest, being a left-hander, it works perfectly.
Because so many of the products, sometimes it's tough, when people ask, we're like, oh, sorry, if you're left-handed, it's a little harder to use, right? And with you saying that, that C arm is really cool because of the fact that if you are reading a newspaper, so most CCTVs out in the market, the TV or the monitor part of it is kind of attached at the backside of the CCTV housing, right? And so if you have a newspaper or a large document and you were to put that on that XY table, you really cannot fit that newspaper page totally open. With this, the design of it allows you to do so. And you've got full flexibility and movement. We'll talk more about the XY table and things like that later, but it is a really neat, unique design, but super functional. Next slide, please, Carl. So the other thing with this is it includes in that OCR scanning capability and then converts over to a touch screen when you're using that. And this will display a full page. It will scan in a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. The cool thing is it breaks it down into zones, and you'll see that live in a little bit. So it's easy to navigate a document. So if you have a document with multiple paragraphs or pictures or things, it breaks it down into zones for you. It does have built-in lighting to cut down on any glare. And as you mentioned, Michelle, it's a super contemporary, sleek design. And I also have to say the footprint that it takes up for the size of it with a 24-inch monitor, I keep looking over at it while I'm here talking, that's what I'm looking at. It really doesn't take up that much space. That XY table really isn't that large. So the spot that it takes up on a table really isn't enormous. But I mean, it's got a fantastic 24-inch monitor on there.
Oh, it does. And I have to joke, when we were practicing today, I was joking. I said, and you get a free chandelier with every, ClearView C, because there's this beautiful chandelier in the marketing picture. And I want this room right here. I think it's beautiful, much like your house, Mike. So
That
it's
is a great setup. Yeah.
yeah,
I've
great
always liked
design.
this photo. Yeah. And if you need a chandelier, Michelle, I can probably get you a hook up there. Next slide, please, Carl.
Oh, and the ClearView C with speech, we are now going to get into some specifics on the menus. And this menu is it's kind of your basic settings menu for magnification. And without kind of going into all the basics that pretty much we all know about, like adjusting your brightness and your contrast and so forth. This has some beautiful, what we call tiles or icons that are nice and large that you would touch on the screen, as well as an indicator at the bottom, the word of what you are affecting. So right now we have the tile that is a sunshine emblem, and it represents brightness. And so it's highlighted as soon as you touch it. And then Mike is actually going to go into the OCR menu and speak to that next. So next slide, please.
Absolutely. So the OCR menu is a separate menu from when you're using it as just your magnification device. So when you activate that OCR function, what it does is a menu pops up at the bottom of the screen. And so from left to right, you've got the menu option built into that. So that would give you more in-depth, functionality, and I'm going to go into that live. Then you've got your zoom in, zoom out, so your magnification plus or minus. So even though you take a snapshot and you have an image of, say, the text on the screen. So if you're reading a magazine, you take a snapshot of that magazine page, it breaks it down into those zones, but then you can also zoom into it. And then in the middle is a play or pause button, as well as fast forward, kind of forward and reverse. And that lets you navigate through the document. And then you've got your volume up and down, and then you have your speed. So if you want to increase or decrease the speed of the voice for the reading. And then of course your X marks the spot of closing, and that will close you out of the menu functionality for that, and get you actually out of the OCR function altogether and bring you back to your basic magnification device. Again, they're color coded, and I have to say, I've demoed this machine so many times. And one of our dealers actually may even be on here, but is totally blind, and he would demo this unit. And so it just goes to show you, how easy it is to learn by just the spacing on the screen and knowing where you're at. They're also color coded, of course, and they've got a different design for each button. But it was always kind of blew my mind. He'd be demoing this thing and knew exactly where every button was. So it's a neat, easy to use unit. Next slide, please, Carl.
All right, and basically, I think you brought up such a great point about the spacing. I think with more professionals out in the field doing iPhone and iPad training, that spacing is very important, because at first, yes, they'll turn on the voice and the accessibility options, but they are learning the controls and learning where things are on the touchscreen as well if they're partially sighted. So I think that's a fantastic point. This unit right here with the speech, I think has one of the widest ranges of magnification out there, from a 1.5 times all the way up to 75 times magnification. The one with speech here, which we're showing today, has a 24-inch monitor. We do also have the non-speech models available in a 22 and a 24-inch size monitor. Goes without saying that beautiful classy C stand that's to the left has a very small footprint with the compact XY table. We do have an optional wide comfort table that is available. So if anybody's interested in that information, we can send that over to you by email later on and show you a picture and also give you, any additional pricing information on that. It's also, I want to mention, computer compatible. And you're just plugging in a basic HDMI cord to throw that image onto that screen. The one thing I do want to mention, because I love to talk about functionality and what type of patient or client this applies to, is that this is one of the only models out there, one of the very few, that has an XY table with a multi-directional brake. And what does that mean? That means that if I'm a person who has a hand tremor, say I've got Parkinson's, and I can't hold my hand still with materials, and I only want my tray to go left to right because I'm reading, I can put the brake on so that the tray does not go forward and backward. It is just going to go left to right. And then of course the opposite, if they're working with a spreadsheet and they're looking at information that goes from the top of the page to the bottom, or a newspaper that's got the column, you can put that brake on to do that. So that would be your usage situation with it. So with that, if we can go to the next slide, if you stay for anything today, Mike Wood gives one of the best live demonstrations of products that I've ever seen, and you're really going to enjoy this. So take it away, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Michelle. I appreciate that. And I will switch over here to the other camera. And what I'm going to do is pin my video. So Carl, I'll ask that you, perfect. And that should be spotlighted for everybody right now. Oh, I think I just stopped spotlighting myself for everybody. So give me a second, spotlight for everyone. Perfect. So what I'm going to do here is I started out with showing actually, so you've got the full screen or the full unit on the camera there of the ClearView. And I'm just going to zoom into the screen itself. And I want to show you what I've got on here right now is actually a newspaper with extremely small print. So this page is the weather page in a newspaper. And that print is extremely small. So I just want to show you the power of this unit. First off, the image quality on this is phenomenal. The color and everything like that is great. So I'm going to twist in the middle and you'll see the control pad here in a minute, but quickly and easily, I'm just magnifying in there and look at how clear that text is. And if I actually give you another change over here to high contrast, it just pops. And you saw how small that text was on that newspaper to begin with. So toggle us back over here to true color. And what I want to show you is the keypad or the control panel of this unit, because it's pretty neat. So this control panel, I'm moving the XY table back, and I'm going to show you that this is actually housed in the front of the XY table. It's magnetized and pops right into the front of that XY table. And the cool thing with this is it's very simple and easy to use. There's no buttons on the front of this. There's a power button on the far right-hand side. And that power button is actually tactile too. It's got a little bump dot almost in the middle there. So when you press that, and I'm not going to press it now because the unit will power off, but I press that, shuts the unit off or turns it on. In the middle, there's a dial that has ridges around the edge, and that's going to be your magnification. When you twist that left or right to zoom in or zoom out, press in the middle, that changes your contrast and colors. And on the right-hand side is actually your crosshairs that brings up a kind of crosshairs and a target zone in the middle, which allows you to, when you're viewing text on the page, if you were zoomed in really far, and I'll show this functionality with some text on here, and you then wanted to find where you were at on the page, you can do so. It will zoom out, and then what it's going to do is zoom in right where that square is in the middle. Another neat thing is if you press and hold this button on the left-hand side of the remote, it actually gives you a red LED dot on the screen or on the on the XY table. And that comes down. So again, that's really helpful for if you're trying to find a spot on, say, a page of text. It will give you, and it might not show that great on here, but it will actually give you a red dot of where you're at there in the middle. So you'll know where you're zooming into or where you're at on that page.
Yeah, Mike, and if I may mention, for those of you who are working with clients and veterans, those two types of targeting are really important. I love that you put crosshairs. It sounds like such a sniper situation, but basically the crosshairs, which are across, if you have a large central vision loss, such as macular degeneration, you can see the outside lines that make up that cross. If you have RP and have more of maybe a tunnel vision, for a lack of a better term, situation, you may have more success with the dot. So again, we're giving you choices as trainers to use with people who have different low vision conditions. And then, Mike, last but not least, my goodness, that's such a powerful thing to show that that remote or that control pad comes out.
Yes.
And so if you have a veteran or patient who is in a wheelchair or has to sit a little further away due to a specialized chair, they can have that remote in their hand away from the unit itself. You know, they're sitting in front of it still, but now you have the option to get those controls in their hands. So again, we're thinking of alternate situations and have taken the design concept to accommodate those things. So,
and what I love with this remote too is the fact that it does, it's magnetic and kind of snaps in. It may be hard to hear, but it snaps into that front. And you'll notice on the front, it just says, there we go, Optelec on the front of that. But if you twist that around, you actually can snap it in this way as well. And then it gives you a couple other options here. And so some of these options on the front of this are your brightness control, your guidelines, menu, and the menu button actually has the word menu kind of bumped out on it so you can feel it, it's tactile. Then you have the toggle button that toggles you between that input. So I can toggle between the input of my laptop and, say, my CCTV itself. And then on the far right-hand side, you have your focus lock. So if you were writing with this unit, when you're writing text under CCTV, oftentimes it's going to try and focus maybe in your hand. It's going to keep on trying to autofocus on different things. What you want it to do is focus in on the pen spot where the tip of that pen is. So you would use this for writing. And what I'm going to show you is if I hit this menu button here on that remote, and I'm going to just zoom in here for a quick second. And so you'll notice what it does for us is it gives us, as Michelle kind of talked about earlier, gives you on the menu or on the screen your brightness control. And the way to go between these options is just twisting that magnification button. To the right is going to move you to the right, and to the left will move you to the left. So you've got your options of your brightness. You've got your options of your contrast. You've got light. So if you want to turn the light on or off, which that's the light on the XY table. You have your standby mode. What standby is going to allow you to do is set this up to automatically kind of go to sleep and power down. So if you were using it, you walked away from it, it's not going to stay on forever if you turn the standby mode on. And to choose any of these options, you're just going to press the middle of that button. So what I'm going to do is press that middle button there, and that chooses standby. And then I'm going to twist this, and you see here I've got 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30, or never. And I just am selecting that by pressing that middle button again, brings me back to my menu. I've got my power off. This lets me choose how I want the unit to be. Do I want it to power down after so long? Your key lock. this is really a cool feature. So many of you out there probably are evaluating users of this product. You may be going into veterans homes, working with vets or seniors. And one of the things that you can do with that key lock is on the front where I just mentioned earlier, where you had the brightness control, the guidelines and all that stuff. If you wanted to lock that functionality, I can click on key lock and I can turn key lock on, and that will actually lock the functionality of those front buttons, which is nice because if you want to, some people may be confused by using that. You just want to simplify it, or maybe they get frustrated if they click a button by accident. You can totally stop that from happening. Reset.
Hey, Mike, before you go into the OCR portion of this, and after you finish the menu, we had just got a request to have you demonstrate the writing using that focus lock and unlock feature, if you could.
Sure thing. Let me grab a pen. And actually, I've got my notepad right here, so I can do that. Sure thing. Thanks, Michelle. So then I'll go through this and then I'll go to that. So then you've got your reset, which resets you back to your factory default settings. So if you did change contrast, you change stuff up in this, you can easily bring it back to factory reset. Your information is just going to give you the software version on this and whatnot, and then your exit. And to choose exit, I just hit that middle button again, and I'm back to my screen. So what's going to happen with your focus lock is, do I have a pen is the question? I do. So with the focus lock, what you do is, if I were writing underneath this, and it's going to be awkward because of the angle that I'm at, but if I were writing underneath this, you want it to focus right here where the pen is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes with the autofocus, it may be focusing on my hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that the focus lock button. And now it's locked in on that paper. And I guess it's going to be awkward because I'm writing it at an angle here. So let me do this.
So you're going to write just like a left-hander does, like I do, kind of sideways.
Zoom out here for a second too. Yes, I am, because it's like, and it's awkward because of the, I'm standing to the side of the unit. There we go. And so it's staying focused on, so you'll notice it's staying focused on that text. If I put my hand under here, it's not focusing on that. It's staying focused on that text. If I were to bring a box of, food or something under there, it'll focus because I'm holding that up to the camera. But when I remove that, it's staying focused right on that text on that pad of paper for you. Oh, you're very welcome. So click back that off, and now it's going to do back to autofocus for you. And I'm going to snap that back into the control unit, back into the front of that XY table. And I just want to show you a couple other things. I just showed, say, something like a box of, what are these? Taco shells. The coloration on that box is horrible. But if we zoom in, you'll see it makes it that much easier to see with those different contrasts.
That's terrible contrast.
Yeah, horrible on that, right? And then the other thing is, what about when you're reading, say, a can of soup or something like that? So you're going to put that can under here, and you'll see the focus on this is spectacular. I mean, I just zoom in and it's like instantaneous, the focus. I can change my contrast, and you'll see how that just pops right out for you, right? Reading the ingredients or the directions and whatnot. And this is on a curve.
Look at how nice that reads on a curved surface. That amazes me.
It's phenomenal. And, it's really great and fast. So that's looking at a can of soup. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is go into the OCR functionality of this, and kind of a secret little hidden trick on how to turn on the OCR. And the trick to it is tap the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So I tap the bottom right-hand side of the screen.
Window and tap the screen.
And what that tells me is position the text inside the window in the center of the screen. You've got a bright yellow square in the center of the screen. I've got a handy dandy Reader's Digest here. I can fit both pages of the Reader's Digest in that square. So easily fits both pages. Down the bottom, you've got your menu functionality that I mentioned earlier. Right now, since we haven't scanned anything in, the only options we have are the menu, the volume, and the speed of the voice, the rate of the voice, and then exit. Super easy. If I want this to scan this page, all I do is tap the middle of the screen.
Everyday miracles with open.
So instantly it starts reading it. And I'm going to zoom into that screen for a second, just so you can see. What I really like is this. So this is both pages of that Reader's Digest magazine. It broke it down into zones. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4. It's even picking up the text at the bottom, which is the date and the page number. And up on the top, you know, the title of the thing. So if we wanted to click on any one of these zones and start reading from that zone, we can quickly and easily do that. So if I wanted to start reading, say, on zone 6.
The class Pat tried to fit in. He played sports.
Now, you might say that looks really, really small, right? And what I can do is I can then zoom into that.
Zoom in.
Click play again.
Sports. He went on dates, but he was always just not good enough for this, just not smart enough for that.
So we can speed up that voice if we wanted to. Very easy. On the far right-hand side, there's the greens options there, the buttons. I'm going to zoom out again there. And this will speed us up.
Speed up.
Or speed down.
Speed down. Speed up. Speed up. Pat Cribble was a target. A trek through the high school years.
So you'll see it speeds it up. It's also highlighting it as it's reading it. This is also really cool for younger kids because this is giving them the tracking. So they're hearing the word and seeing the word. So they're getting kind of that bimodal input as well, which is great. But also, you know, say I step away to get a cup of coffee or something, I come back, I know exactly where I left off. I don't have to think or look through to see where I was at. I can further zoom in, zoom out again, my volume, my play and my pause. On the far left is our menu option. So what's the menu option do here that's different from the menu that Michelle and I talked about earlier is if I tap that button there, up on the screen pops some square boxes with words, and these are all color coded as well. So it's kind of hard showing it through the camera that we're using here, or that I'm using. And what that is save is green, open is orange, delete is red, voice is kind of a teal blue, view is a royal blue, and settings is a gray. What this is cool with is that you can actually save what you scanned into this unit. So that Reader's Digest page that I just scanned in, I can click on save.
Save as menu.
I can save it as a document, an EPUB, a docs file, or an MP3 audio file. So I'm going to save it as a document.
Save with voice label.
This gives me an option to save it with a voice label. What this will do is actually record my voice and tag my voice to this document. So later on, when I come through and look at the saved documents I have, I can actually give it its own title if I wanted. By default, the title it's going to give it is the first line of text. So I'm going to say no to saving it with a voice label just for time's sake.
Saving, please wait.
So it saves it into this. And I can come back to this.
Document everyday miracles with open arms at last has been saved.
So you'll see it gave it the title of that
want to append more pages?
That first line of text. It's now asking me, do you want to append more pages? What the heck does that mean, right? So what that's asking us is, did you have more text that you want to add to this? Do I want to add the next page of this story? If I'm scanning in, you know, doctor's notes or something, do I want to add in, you know, multiple pages to have that on record? Another cool thing is, I'm going to say no on this, but
page.
One thing that this was pretty neat, I had met a vet a couple years ago that was using this unit, and he had a printout that his daughter had given him on just an 8.5 sheet, you know, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And it had all of the, contact list of family and friends that he, had to keep in touch with. And we scanned it into this, and then he electronically had it. He could come in here at any time. So if you misplaced the paper, it's very easy to misplace paper, but not very easy to misplace a unit this large with a 24-inch monitor. So he could easily come in, go to the menu option,
Main menu.
go to open,
Open menu.
go to documents,
Open document.
and here's your list of
Everyday miracles
documents.
with open arms at last.
And I can click on,
Opening document.
and it will open up that document for us. And this is something that was scanned in a long time ago.
Unit at Fort Belvoir.
And you've got it there with your zones. We can click and read anything. Super easy breezy. So I'm going to go back to our menu here
Main menu.
and show you a couple other things in here that you have. So you've got your save, you've got your open, you've got your delete. Oh,
Delete menu.
I didn't want to hit
Main
that.
menu.
You've got your voice. So I can toggle between multiple voices by clicking on this button. The nice thing with this is you can limit how many voices are selected, and this will only toggle you through the ones you select. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You also have a view button here in the bottom middle.
View menu.
What this view button does is allows you to change how that text is viewed on the page. So when I scanned in that Reader's Digest story, we saw the images, we saw the text with that red square around the text, how it was reading it. We can change the colors. We can change the view mode, and we can change the highlight colors. So I'm going to change the mode here for a second.
Page. High contrast off. Column.
So I just changed that to column, and this is now going to read just text and show it in a column format. If I change it again,
Line.
it's going to do a line format. I'm going to go out of this menu just to show you what a line format looks like.
Main menu.
And I just do that by clicking the bottom right X.
Line.
So that whole story that was on this OCR, on the XY table down here, this entire story now is one line of text. And when I hit play,
Belvoir, following his 2 years of school with a two.
so it's now going to read that entire document in one line of text for us. I go back to menu
Main menu.
and view
View menu.
and mode.
Page. High contrast on.
It toggles me back to the view with images and with text. Again, I can change the
Black on
color.
yellow. Yellow on black. Blue on yellow. Yellow on blue.
And it's just going to toggle you through them. It automatically, changes them, and it also announces what those colors are.
Red on black. Black on red. Green on black.
And you
Black
really
and
can't
green.
mess anything up because you just keep pressing it
Purple on
until you get back to
blue on black on white.
what you want. So we're now back to our black on white. We can also change that highlighting.
Highlight box yellow. Highlight line.
We can highlight the entire line of text.
Highlight line red. Highlight line yellow. Highlight off.
Or have no highlight at all while it's reading. So if you have somebody that has some visual issues where that's too much because the bouncing around and the colors and all that, you can shut off the highlight altogether and leave it with
Highlight
nothing.
box.
So I'm going to close out of this here, the mode.
Main menu.
So the last option on the OCR menu is the settings button.
Settings menu.
The settings menu gives you the options to change the voice. So earlier we kind of mentioned how you can toggle between the set voices that you had. The cool thing with this OCR engine in this is you can scan in multiple languages. You can do German, French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, you name it, multiple languages built into it. I'm going to click on voice.
Entering language selection menu. English.
So
Selected.
we've got German, Spanish, all of that stuff in here, Dutch. So under English.
Voice selection menu. American English, Tom.
So you
Selected.
And it's announcing again to us, American English Tom is selected. You've got American English Samantha. You've got British English Daniel. So say I want to choose Daniel.
British English, Daniel. Selected.
So now I'm going to select that. I'm going to close out of this again. bottom right-hand corner.
Entering language selection menu. Settings menu. Main menu.
Until I'm back to this. So this is the main menu for OCR. What if I want to toggle now with my voices? When I click this.
Changing voice.
British English, Daniel.
So now
Selected.
when I come into my document,
No. Joe was ordered a 4-year tour of duty at the second largest power plant in the U.S.
so it'll now read it in British English. If I go back to my menu,
Main menu. Changing voice.
American English, Tom.
by clicking
Selected.
voice, it just toggles me back to Tom. Those are the only two voices I had chosen. So that's why it's only giving me those options. If I go
Hey,
back
Mike.
into settings, yeah, Michelle.
We have a request to hear what the voice Tracy sounds like.
Sure, yeah. So settings,
Settings menu.
voice,
Entering language selection menu.
English.
Voice selection menu.
I'm gonna get rid of
American English.
British
Daniel.
English, Daniel.
American English, Tracy.
So we have her a
Selected.
little sped up right now. And Eileen Zakin just said, if we want to hear the voices too, we can hit that.
British English, Fiona. British English, Serena.
So we can hit the
Unselected.
right-hand side. There's two arrows that scroll you through the list of voices. And so,
British English, Ina. Australian English, Karen.
so you can hear
Unselected.
the announcement, and it also tells you that they're selected or not selected. So if you want to hear something read by Tracy, I will actually come up and get rid of
American
Tom.
English, Tom.
So Tracy's the only one
Unselected.
that's checked off right now with that green checkbox.
Entering language selection menu. Settings menu. Main menu. Page. In 1966, Jim returned to U.S. Navy and was promoted to construction electrician second class, CET2.
So we've got her on a couple extra cups of coffee today, I think there. So we can slow her down.
Speed down. Speed down. Speed down.
So we can slow her down, speed her up, and that is Tracy there. And so I'm going to close out of this. So to get out of your OCR altogether, you click that bottom right-hand X,
ClearView on.
and that brings you back to just your clear view, which is going to be for your magnification. So if we're looking at just regular text, we're back to our regular OCR. One other thing I did want to show you was the fact of how easy it is to toggle between this and a laptop. So on the back side, on the back left-hand side of this, if you're looking at the unit, on the camera housing, there's an HDMI port. And what that allows me to do is plug an HDMI in to that from, say, my laptop, which I've got plugged in. I'm going to show you here. Let me actually change to true color. So on that menu, excuse me, on the control panel, on the far right-hand side here, we've got that toggle button or input button. So I'm going to press that. And you'll notice here in a second, it's going to pull up my laptop screen. And I've got my laptop over on the other side there of the dining room and plugged in. And if you were using this on your desk, you could use this nice 24-inch monitor as your laptop monitor, and then quickly and easily toggle by just pressing that button again on the keypad on the remote. And it's going to toggle you right back to your CCTV functionality.
Hey,
So-
Mike, we had a question in the question chat. Eileen's asking, can you discuss the different formats in which it can read? For example, original, columns, and lines.
Sure thing, Eileen. Yeah. So if I go into, let me go back into OCR.
Position the text inside the window and tap the screen.
So I'm going to let it scan this document again here. So,
Everyday miracles with open arms.
and I just covered it. I was going to go back over it, Eileen, but no worries, no problem. You were ahead of the game there. So, just to kind of go over it one more time, I'll go in there though. So menu
Main menu.
and view.
View menu.
And what this allows you to do is view it as the exact way it's seen on the screen, and or
Page. High contrast off.
if you don't want to have those contrast colors, you can shut those off.
Column.
You can view it as just a column of text. So I didn't show that. So I'll show you the column of text
Main
here.
menu. Column.
So that whole story again was a 2-page story in Reader's Digest that is now just a long column of text. And I can click over on the right-hand side here, press and hold, since this is a touch screen, and I can scroll down that page. And this is just text now. So there's no images. It's just one long text document. If I go back into menu.
Main menu.
And go to view.
View menu.
End mode.
Line.
Now I'm going to close out.
Make line.
And now we just have one continuous line of text. So this is really good for visual clutter issues. Michelle, you made a great point earlier when we were talking about some of the functionality here with the straight line of text too, didn't you?
Yes, I've come across a lot of situations where teachers are using this for kids who have ADD or they're in the younger grades and they're learning word recognition. And it really limits the amount of information on the screen at one time so that they have a chance to concentrate on the sentence structure versus staring at a whole page. So it's just been also your seniors, if they haven't read for a long time, having a limited amount of information on the screen makes it more achievable. You're doing things a word at a time, and then as they graduate, you can make the information appear, you know, where you're doing the total columns or many more words on the screen, I guess, as they progress. So you can affect how you are feeding them the words on the screen, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Michelle. And I did want to I'll take a second here to scroll through the chat window because I did see a couple questions had come up. And can you highlight more than one word at a time or even highlight a whole sentence? Yes, Judy. So you can highlight a word at a time or an entire line at a time on there. You have those options and you can change the color of how that's done. Oh, and Eileen, you answered that. Thank you. Tracy, you heard what Tracy sounds like. I'm sure you sound much better, but I hope she did you some justice there. And Eileen mentioned about tapping down the arrow. Thank you. And then Diana, great that you can connect to a laptop. You cannot enlarge the image using the ClearView C from the laptop, but if you had your laptop and you were running our software like Zoom Text, you'd then be able to use Zoom Text on your laptop, which would then show through and you'd see an enlarged laptop screen that way. So it wouldn't do it through the CCTV though.
Right, but running it through that CCTV, we're talking about situations where if a person wants double duty, we call it, they don't want to have two monitors on their desktop, they don't have the room, then they would just toggle back and forth. So it really is a space saver.
It is. It's a nice option to have. And I'm going to close out of there. And I think, was there any? I don't think I missed anything in there. I do like that it gives you all those auditory cues too when you are using it. And I have that text flipped because when you're scanning, it's looking at it like a portrait, you know, 8.5 by 11 square on the screen there to do the scanning. And you do have, so I mentioned earlier on the keypad, you've got that power button to shut it off there. There's also a main power switch on the back housing of the camera. I usually tell people when I'm setting this up at their house, don't even worry about that switch unless you're going away for a while and you're going to shut it down altogether. But normally it's easy breezy to just use this orange button on the keypad itself to shut it down. And someone asked, does it ship in one box? This unit does ship in one box, which is nice. So you pull this out of the box, plug it in, you're good to go. The power cord just has, you know, a plug that plugs into it, and all the buttons are already connected, all the cords and everything, so you're good to go with this. Trying to think if there's anything else that I missed. Any other questions, comments? Judy, good question. You might have stumped me there on how much it weighs. Let's see if I've got that handy. I'm not sure if I do, but it's definitely not something that you're going to be I wouldn't, and when I set this up for seniors especially, I tell them, make sure you call, you have your grandchildren or you call a friend or someone that, has had their Wheaties in the morning to lift it.
Yeah, and
Don't,
most CCTVs will be in the range of about 26 to 30 pounds. That's for stability of camera, so you get less vibration. It also means that when you have someone pulling that XY table forward, that it is not going to be a tippy unit. You certainly want to have safety in mind as a company when you're designing these CCTVs. So we just had one of our counterparts say it's 36 pounds. So we're right in that range. This one, because we're showing it with the 24-inch monitor, is a nice, beautiful size monitor. So it does, weigh just a couple pounds more than what I quoted. So thank you for that. We appreciate it.
yeah, this one with the touchscreen OCR monitors, just a hair over 40. It's 41 pounds for that one actually. So I think the regular without the OCR monitor is a little lighter. It does have a built-in handle behind it. So there is a handle to grab to lift it and move it. Again, it takes up a small footprint when you have this on a desk. I'm actually impressed with it. The footprint dimension is only 16.5 inches by 20 inches. So it fits in a nice, compact area. And, oh, I did want to show, so you had mentioned earlier, Michelle, I'm going to move this camera down here.
Oh, yes, I forgot about this. Thank you.
Oh gosh, you're so welcome. So there's a great image of how that snaps in there. You mentioned earlier about the XY table, and the lighting's probably not the greatest there, but let's see if I can fix that. There we go. So you'll see here, you've got two buttons or two levers. So if I move the right-hand one, this allows me to move this up and down, so back and forth, but I can't move it left to right. I'm trying right now, it's not letting me move it left to right. If I lock that one, pushing it into the middle, but I push this one out to the left, this allows me to move this left to right, but now not back and forth. So I'm trying to push this forward, ain't happening. So it gives you full functionality. The other thing that this is nice with is if you kind of move these out, both of them at the same time, it gives you more tension. So again, if you have tremors, it's not going to move as easily, but I'm going to zoom out here just to show you. But I can still move it, but I'm putting a little bit more force into this. And if I open them up all the way, it just glides very, very easy. Someone just asked, I saw where the serial number is, and the serial number on this unit, I have to look myself too, is on the back left-hand side of the monitor. That's going to give you where your serial number is for that unit on the back left-hand side of the monitor. And I'll zoom back out there and zoom back into that. Any other questions, comments?
We did have one more about reading a second page of a document in the OCR mode.
Oh yeah, so if you want it, so this is actually pretty cool. And I did forget to show that, so thanks for calling me out on that. So if I tap the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and get back into OCR.
Position the text inside the window and tap the screen.
So we're now going to be back in there. I'm going to scan this same page in for us and just tap the middle of the screen. And I just moved it, so let's hope that it and what you can then do,
Everyday miracles with open arms.
I'm going to pause that. So to then capture the second page, so if we were scanning and saving this in there and we want to read the second page, what we can do is go in here to the menu.
Main menu.
Click Save.
Save as menu.
And I'm going to save it as a document.
Save with voice label.
I'm not going to save it with the voice label.
Saving. Please wait.
So when it saves that, it then pops up and says,
Document everyday miracles with open arms at last _2 has been saved.
And
do you want to append more pages?
It says, do you want to append more pages? So this is where I would then want to flip to the second page. I'm going to click yes. It opens up. So now here's our second page.
Tap the screen to append page 2.
And
Tap on the exit button to stop appending pages.
if I hit the middle, it's going to add.
Saving. Please wait.
I keep talking over her. It's then going to save that in there now.
Tap the screen to append page 3.
So if I want to
Tap on the
save,
exit button to stop appending pages.
if I want to add a third page, I can do so, or I can click the exit button.
Do you want to process the pages now? This may take several minutes.
So if you were to save a bunch of pages in here, it's giving you the warning that it might take a little while to process them. We only did an extra page, so yes.
Processing page 2 of 2.
And so it's going to save that in there. You'll have both pages. So Carol, to answer your question, if you had a second page that you wanted to read, you would actually, without saving the document,
Everyday miracles with open arms.
what you would do is, I'm going to close out of this a second. You would actually just close out of the OCR functionality and then flip to your second page and rescan that
Position the
page.
text inside the window and tap the screen.
So you would just scan the second page. You would close out of that and then go back in and have it read that for you. And then that's how you would do it without saving it if you didn't want to save it. Thanks for that question. Yeah, and it is easy to add those second pages, which is nice. And let's see, any other questions I missed? And Judy, I'm not sure if the serial number, when it's shipped, I believe you do get a piece of paper from our main office that also has the serial number on it, which would be the invoice and the information about all that with your information. But it is also on the back as well. Oh, and Eileen, you just gave me, great, thank you. So if I scan this in, you can press and hold the X until it talks to you, and you can then scan in another page.
Reader's Digest Everyday Miracle.
So if I press and hold that,
Take a new picture, position the text inside the window and tap the screen.
see, Eileen, thanks. You just taught me something. I didn't even know that functionality of it. So you don't have to close all the way out of scanning. You can actually just press and hold that X, and it'll then tell you to put the page right there in the middle again. Elizabeth, you had asked, thanks, Eileen. And you're welcome, Carol. I'm glad Eileen was here because she just saved me on that one. Elizabeth, there is an external thumb drive, so you can import some stuff from that USB thumb drive in the back. That's on the camera housing as well. So if you had certain documents, you could upload them or save to that as well if you wanted. Yep. But this has a lot of built-in memory. So for the most part, it's going to be easy to just save it right to the unit itself because it has the internal memory. And you're welcome. Thanks for asking. So we've got only 3 minutes left. Carl, I'm going to ask you to flip back to the slides. I will stop sharing that video there. And what I'll do is, I think we've got a lucky winner. Let's see, we had our random number generator. And Michelle, do you have the name of that winner?
I do. The lucky winner is Tammy Weber. Tammy Weber.
Congratulations, Tammy.
And what does Tammy do to get her Ergolux unit, or Mobilux, excuse me. I believe I'm saying that wrong.
So Tammy, you're welcome. Congrats. You can actually just message, you can email credits@vispero.com if you're also looking for this ACVREP credits, or you can just email me directly, mwood, MWOOD @vispero.com. Give me your shipping address and we'll get that sent out to you. Congratulations. And
All right.
Judy.
Let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah, Judy, if we can answer Judy's question, that would be great. That's what this is about. The pricing on that is $39.95 is the price of the unit with OCR, and we do have 2 other sizes without the OCR version available as well. All right, I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt. So
Oh,
any
no,
other
not at all.
questions?
No, not at all. Thanks. I saw that question pop up and I knew that, I knew you had that info and I was ready to have it as well. And again, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We also have our blog. Twitter, it's @Optelec. Facebook's @Optelec. YouTube is Optelec Tube. And then if you go to the optelec.com/blog page, you can sign up for the blog there. And I think there was one other question. Someone asked if, so if you have ACVREP, if you're accredited through that agency, you can get the EDU credits. So that's if you are accredited through ACVREP. And Michelle, I had to put this one in there. I was like, Michelle kicking back on her recliner, logging off for the day. She's done.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, at least I'm not shot out of a cannon like the last presentation we did.
I figured I'd be nicer to you this time around. I was like, you were in the full body cast last time.
Oh, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Michelle, I have to say, like, it is always so fun doing these with you. And I love the fact that every time we do them, we learn something from the crowd and we learn something from each other, which is phenomenal because, you know, life is always a stage of learning, right? And I've been demoing these units forever and a day, but like today, I learned some cool things and you're always teaching me cool little tips and tricks, so.
Oh, thank you. We have a good crowd. I mean, a good crew. Every time we've had some wonderful comments and tips coming, so keep them coming.
Yes, please do. And I just saw something in the Q&A. Did you demonstrate the scrolling with the touch screen? I did, I think. I scrolled, yeah, when I had the text, okay. And then I have one of these in my lab and it weighs over, yeah, 20, definitely Bill is over 20 pounds, but you know, it's not, this isn't something that you're going to be moving around. And that's where, you know, I like the fact that we've got such a wide range of products. So, you know, you also have the ClearView Go. So this is the ClearView C with speech, but then the ClearView Go is going to come in what, a 15 and 17, is it, Michelle? 15 and 17 inch?
Yes. Yeah, you're correct.
Those are super easy to move around. You've got this, a lot of the same functionality. You don't have the speech, but if you need to do your magnification on the go, and then you've got, you know, handheld magnifiers to take out. You know, I like what Joe Chung had said on one of our prior webinars that was on optical magnifiers. And, you know, the thing that he said was they did a poll of low vision users and they polled them and said, how many, you know, different tools are you using, or like low vision tools, right? Which could be optical magnifiers, video magnifiers, desktop magnifiers, lighting, you name it. And the survey number came back at like 4.5 different products. So most people are using either 4 or 5 different tools to get through the day. So I think that was great. And I see how to get credits again. So email credits, CREDITS @vispero.com, send the opening code and closing code, and then how you want your name to appear on the certificate. And then, let's see, I'm just scrolling up here. You are welcome. I see a couple of thank yous to both of us. You're very welcome. I'm glad that you found it helpful, everyone that attended. And be sure to join, also follow us. Michelle and I are on LinkedIn, so feel free, like, we're always posting on there when we're doing these events. Michelle and I are hoping to take this globally.
Yeah, and we take requests. So if you want us to do a certain product that we haven't shown yet, or an oldie but a goodie that you want kind of some new tips and tricks on how to use, we're open to any of those requests.
Yeah, and I think next month we were talking with Rachel and the team about doing one on just overall low vision tools, right? I think we were talking about maybe doing, you know, just all different types of magnifiers and how they might be used and what eye conditions they're, good for and so on and so forth. So
Yeah,
that's
because
next.
there's a lot of new people out there. It's really important to not review, but kind of go over some of those, tips and tricks, like we said, because that needs to get passed on to this new generation that are coming up.